world markets in absolute turmoil, Bitcoin being a very bad boy. And welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Wish you a very happy and healthy and best of the best morning to you over there from wherever in the world that you may be. I'm coming from Helsinki, Finland. It is well, it's actually okay out right now, and it's really fucking early as well. So let's get to it. Actually, looking at the app, Krown trading application right here, which can be found at app.krown. Fuck it. Fuck it. You can't find it. Sorry. I can't say it, so you can't find it. Anyways, open interest above 2.1 billion. That's billion with a B. And that's interesting because we do see it go up about 100 million from yesterday to today as Bitcoin does put in yet again another low time frame high as the world markets start to turn down once again. Which is very interesting. However, it's not going to get it done on its own. I still need to see the same thing that I would like to see to really have confidence in the next big macro move that we've been looking for the last 2.5 to 3 months now, which is a break of the high term time frame range, which would either be above 9,900 or below 8,900. And that in the bottom side of that actually has changed over time, but the top side very much unchanged. And so what I want to see is I want to see a breakage of that with price action plus. Also look at the open interest rate on top of that. I would suspect that it likely does shatter down, although we don't have enough price action history for it, or just history in general for it, because we've been mining data for the last few months. But realistically, we need like years. But it will give good insight onto how to interpret this in the future. So that's essentially why I'm keeping an eye on that. It's not complete in and of itself right now. Anyways, Bitcoin dominance oscillating between the low 62% to the mid 62%. Or 62.5%, I suppose I should say. So we haven't really seen a change there, except altcoins do seem to be losing strength versus Bitcoin, as Bitcoin does have a very short-term down here. Fear and greed index pretty much flat as a fucking doorknob. And what else do I want to say? Yes. Oh, that's it. Okay. Yeah. All the programs are on sale for 20% off. No code is needed at the Krown Trading application. Oh, I said it. There we go. And as always, I don't want to spend too much time on it right here. I really want to get into the charts, but watch the videos that accompany them. They're going to let you know who they're for, who they're not for, and then it's up to you to make the decision for yourself, as you are likely an adult, and I'm going to trust that you're going to make the best decision for yourself. Anyways, most importantly though, if there is one thing that I could say about them, as always, make sure that you have enough time, and then also time to actually watch them, because the TA program, this one right here, and the options program right here, these are very long programs, 35 hours plus long, and realistically you're going to want to watch them multiple times, or at least that's how it's designed. And that means that, well, you have to have the time to invest in it if you're going to actually make any sort of sense of it. And on top of that, I would also say with these sort of programs, from like coming full circle, what I typically see is a long-term type of thing, and that was kind of the same thing for myself as well, in the sense that from getting like a good grip on things to really like actually having results, I'd say about a year to a year and a half for the majority of people that I've seen who actually even make it. Some people do not, because, well, there's a whole myriad of reasons why some people do not make anything, but I would say for the people who are who really do put in the effort and the time and really take it seriously, doing the notes and everything, and referencing all the videos, then yeah, that's about it. Yes, there are some people who do it a lot faster than that. 6 months is probably like the earliest that I've seen, and then some people just come in with like a good base already, and they just need like a few tweaks here and there, and it's that doesn't really count. For anyone else who is interested in these sorts of things, but is not like, doesn't want to commit to like a super long program, the Neophytes program is a complete beginner's program. That's the one that I'd suggest if you are completely green, you don't even know your way around exchange, for example, and you look at trading view and you're confused. So that would be it right there. And then of course, going to the subscriptions, we do have the Jewel on a 3-month discount if you want to commit to a longer plan there. And we also have another video accompanying it, so definitely watch that as well. Same sort of things apply for this one. The Jewel is not a magic pill. If you aren't already profitable in essence, if you don't know how to manage risk, if you don't know how to manage your positions, it's not going to do that for you. So understand that. It's not the same thing as a program. It is literally just indicators and videos on how to use them. And then of course partner programs as well. We got Mornfall putting up his new PineScript Mastery program, which will teach you how to code indicators in TradingView. Okay, cool. All right, now that we got through all the housekeeping stuff, let's get on to the fun stuff already. So let's not even start off with Bitcoin. I want to start off with actually Tesla today. Tesla is the most interesting chart right now in the world, and the reason why that is because we just blew off the fucking top Now, is this a confirmed top just yet? No, actually it's not, but it does look like it has all the markings of it, except for a volume climax, which I typically do like to see, but doesn't need to be on the top. Usually, I mean, you will certainly see it on the bottom, or not certainly, but 99.9% of the time you will see it on the bottom after a major move like this. But on the top, it is interesting to see how things have kind of come down here in the last 24 hours. So we did say, or actually no, I never had any real targets on this one to the upside. We actually haven't really been falling all that much, but this is looking like a clear reversal. Even the 4-hour historical volatility percentile is getting really, 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 really red up there. So at the very least, I would look for some sideways in a range between about 1350 to kind of where we are right now, maybe like 1550, 1600-ish region. But I do believe that the top is in. And the reason why I said that is not because it's not because I have some sort of a crystal ball. It's just a very easy trade to be managing here if you are going to make that assumption. As long as it is closing, especially daily dollars below 1650, it is it's looks like a top to me. If we go down to an hourly, we could I'd keep that same area, 1650-ish region. So essentially what I'd be looking for here is a range to be created over the next however long, between about, like I said, let's call it 1375 and about 1600, we'll call it. And don't underestimate how long you can kind of go sideways within that range. But overall, as long as it's below about 1650, I would come at it with the assumption that the top is in. This is a nice blow off right here. Bearish divergence is being shown all across the board on the lower term time frames. But funnily enough, we actually don't really see it on a daily. I mean, unless you go all the way back here, perhaps we will see it on a weekly. Yes, it is present on a weekly. So it's going to take a little bit of time to actually fully formally, confirm something like this. For an example, and that I think probably a lot of people are familiar with, we can look at Bitcoin $20,000 high right here, and you can see that Bitcoin did create a massive range, but didn't really break down for like another month and a half after the actual top was put in, right? So these things do typically take time, and what you can think of between Bitcoin and like a stock typically is that Bitcoin will play out things on like 5x speed, and that will be reduced over time, of course. But as it stands right now, it would appear that Tesla has kind of blown its top here. It's blown its load, and probably gonna be a lot of tears, if I had to guess. But like I said, do not underestimate how long you can kind of go sideways here without actually fully breaking down. And could it pop back up and prove me wrong? Yeah, absolutely, it could. It 100% could. And I would start to take that position, or at least loosen up above 1650 and especially above 1700. No reason to be short above there. Anyways, I want to look at the general sphere here. I am having more or less a fresh look on the charts right now. Looking at Nasdaq futures, blew off its top as well a little bit. This one doesn't look as obviously toppy as Tesla, but we do have a massive bearish engulfing dildo on the daily right here, and I would be kind of looking for a range to be created between about 10,500 and 10,700, low 10,700-ish region, and I'd be bearish as long as we're below about 10,700-ish region. We are going to see bearish divergence certainly come up above this region right here from our 9th of June high at about 10,100, so almost $1,000 higher. By the way, I think that we actually did fully fulfill the $11,000 target on this one. I just want to see. Holy shit, man! Sometimes that TA bullshit actually works. Nasdaq futures made it up to 1158.50. My target was 1132.75. Not always going to be that in line, but sometimes that TA bullshit. Sometimes, every once in a while. And this was the target that we had in all the way back here, going back to early May. So, I would be expecting some down off this, a little bit of sideways, a little bit of down. And then we'll come back to it in like maybe a month or two. And I would essentially be looking for a bounce off this region as well, and just create a range between what is this area right here? Let's actually elongate this a little bit more, just appropriate for the hourly. Yeah, like I said, about 10,600-ish, a few ticks below there, between there and about 10,750. And as long as we're below about 10,750, I would look at this as a nice top being formed. Weekly is going to be looking pretty nasty here as well, but still got a lot of time left between now and on Friday, so things can happen. But it is potential that we do have or we do confirm major bearish divergence here between $9,600 high and the $11,000 high that it just kind of ticked up towards. So very, 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 very interesting. I would look for this one to likely make its way back down to the 10,150, 10,200-ish region over the next few weeks. And how does that affect Bitcoin when we do see massive correlations between traditional markets and Bitcoin on the macro, when Bitcoin has barely been able to hold on to its fucking britches in the low side of its range in comparison to the world markets, while everything else in their mother's fucking rallying to the goddamn moon. Not good. But let's confirm by looking at E-mini futures for SPY. And what do you know? We did hit our 323 target, I believe it was. Yeah, right there to the T again. Love it. This one's not as obviously toppy though. I wouldn't really be looking for a full-on reversal. I wouldn't even be looking for a full-on reversal on this one below 3108. But I would be looking for like some significant down here at the very least. So I do think that very likely going to test down to like 3113, like the low, or sorry, 3111, whatever the low side of the teens is essentially. Is the bearish divergence present there as well? Actually, no, because we didn't really make new highs, just got a rejection right there. So I'd actually really be waiting for the weekly on this one. I think that Nasdaq is going to give direction, and we'll see how the market rotates here. I'm very curious to see how this one turns out. But essentially, if Nasdaq's topped out, then what's going to be the next one? We'll probably SPY, actually, because I think that is kind of next in line here as far as strength goes, or relative strength, that is. And so you can see that these things do typically just occupy time and space, and so it makes it a little bit difficult to call things right here for something like SPY when Nasdaq's leading. But I do think that SPY actually could work its way up here. I'm curious how like actual SPY closed a lot more like a rejection. Yes, no, of course, and probably insinuating a target down to like 310.5 region short term. However, I would be hesitant to get super. I can't really get super bearish on this one in the same way that I can on something like Tesla, because this one is still kind of in the guise of making an ascending triangle in the more on this time frame right here. Something like this, what I'd be looking towards, and we can actually just move this up. We don't really need this one right here, although it technically is appropriate, yes, but you can see that it's still kind of making an ascending triangle, to be fair, which is a bullish reaccumulation formation. So is it appropriate to get bearish on this thing just yet? No, but I don't think that it's out of the cards to come back down and test around this trend line right here at about 305, 306 region, the rising trend line right there. It will turn around to a more long-term bearish by taking out this prior low right here, and also unraveling the golden cross, so to speak, below about 301 if you want to get super exact. So let's go over now and check out Bitcoin and how this is, or let me just make sure that we could actually check out gold before then as well. Funnily enough, where's my goddamn hedge, motherfucker? Why is gold going down when everything else is going down too? Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's like going down here super hard. But even though weekly is not bad, it's hard to get bearish on gold. I do think a little bit of down here, probably back down to like 1790, maybe 1785 region. But I'd be looking for a short-term bounce there, and then we'll come back. I don't think that gold is the obvious chart right now. Long-term, it still looks good, actually. I'm very curious to see how this one reacts alongside the perceived weakness in traditional markets right now. Oh, and let's go take a look at Japan as well, because they are going to be open for the trading day, and they do hold some weight. Okay, so here's the Nikkei 225. Looks very eerily similar to SPY. And this one's still fine as well. I'm not bearish on this one, actually. This one's still creating higher highs and higher lows, and looks like an ascending triangle as it gets a golden cross. So I would be hesitant to get like super just widespread bearish on everything. It's realistically probably going to take a little bit of time, but Nasdaq doing what it's doing is not necessarily good. And the fact is that Tesla, which has kind of been like the most egregious of these stocks going to the fucking moon, is looking like it's done. Let's also check out let's take a quick look at Microsoft. Microsoft is looking like reversal as well. I'll be looking for short term down to 202.5, probably a bounce there. Some sideways between about 202.5 to 208.5, 209 maybe. But overall, this one is looking this one's looking topped out, at least for the short and medium term terms, or sorry, medium term, short and medium term time frames. And I'll be looking for the next sort of trigger for a big flood to the downside below 202.5, that same area. Weekly is looking like potentially making is, I mean, it's technically not a bearish engulfing, but what it would be considered is potentially a tweezer top reversal, and that would come alongside bearish divergence on this as well. But again, same thing as before. Still is a lot of time between now and Friday, so we're getting a little bit too ahead of or at least I'm getting ahead of myself right here. But assuming that does close below, let's call it especially 200, I'd look for extension short and medium term back down to about 194, 195 region, and then come back and look at it after that. But I would be looking at a bounce in that region at the first pass. Alrighty, on to Bitcoin. Let's go see how this gigantic, amazing piece of technology is doing right now in these world markets when they're printing the money, because that's good for Bitcoin, right? What's my narrative now? How to make bullish now? My red dots? No, blue dots? What color dots are you guys? What color dots are the fucking Boolahs using right now? I have two red dots, one blue dot. Wait, what? Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let me just make sure that everything's good over here. Let me make sure that everything is looking cool over there. All right, looks like we are more or less good. All right, cool. Anyways, Bitcoin on a daily soaks looking like they want to turn down, rejecting the bullish control zone, and they will remain to the downside as long as Bitcoin price action is below 93.25. What's interesting about this, that's actually even below the last prior high now. So because Bitcoin has even turned down below that last 94.50-ish high, we do have yet again another trigger for a short and medium term. I mean, I guess I'd just call it a medium term time frame move now, moving it down from what was once about 10.2 now then to 99, then to 97, then to 94.50, and then once again looks like this is going to be confirmed as a high, and likely Bitcoin comes down to about $9,000 low right here. Does that imply that we are going to break it to the downside? No, it doesn't. But looking at all the momentum oscillators on the daily, it is a scary situation here, because we do see daily RSI looking like it does want to close below it's going to have a chance to close below the exponential today. And it will close below the exponential today as long as Bitcoin price action closes below 92.28, which is actually right around where we are right now. So that's not, that could very easily be undone. But what's concerning about this is the fact that Bitcoin is once again in the low side of the range, or at least hinting at a test of the low side of the range, as historical volatility percentile is in a very precarious place. It can only expand from here. And on top of that, we do see that the volume signature for this whole formation, which we've been following for a while now, is coming to an apex less than a week from now. I believe 21st of July, and we are on the 14th day of July. So yeah, about a week from now. But that doesn't mean that it's going to break on the 21st. It just means that anytime that it was like anytime since June started, it's extremely likely to break. And we're now 2 weeks into June. Or sorry, July, and still haven't broken. So it would suggest that the next big move is going to be a big move, so to speak. This is a 3-month consolidation, very, very par for the course on Bitcoin's macro moves, of which you probably know this yourself. But this one coming in on our last 3-month consolidation right here before a massive, girthy red dildo party to the downside, all the way down to mid 6,000s. Same thing on this one to the upside right here. 3-month consolidation on the lows, boom, massive move up, just blows its fucking top from 4,000 to 14,000. Same thing right here, 3-month consolidation in this descending triangle, boom, massive move down, and well, you get the idea. Anyways, what I really want to focus on here though is still the same things that are what I believe most important, and that is the critical points that actually encompass or imply the next big move. And in this case right here, I'd be moving up that 8,900-ish region to 9,000 actually, because the rising trend line kind of governing our lows thus far is essentially the cyan 89 exponential moving average right here, grabbing this low, this low, this low, and what is kind of holding in the higher lows, so to speak, going in from early May since 85.50 right here. So if we do break that area, I would be looking for a move down at the very least to the 200 exponential moving average, which by the way is exactly in line with the last couple lows, actually smashing them right down to the middle. And I look for some sort of a wick down to the 200 simple and play at a range between here and here, and that would constitute a break of this. And if I put on my drawing tools, we should I redo this chart? Yeah, I should redo this chart actually. it's you know, all those trend lines are appropriate, but they're just not really relevant to what we're looking at right now. And let me put on these babies right here. So I'll keep this one to the upside because this is still, you know, still the most important one, of course. Then we got this high right here. You can make another liquid zone if you so desire. Then we have our next lower high right here. And then we have our set of lows right here. And this would be kind of like the big bad boy right down around there. I could make a liquid zone here as well. In fact, might as well. It would be appropriate, to be fair, and we'll do something like this. Okay, cool. Nice and clean charts, and starting to really shape up rather well. Well, depending upon which side that you want to be on, but hey, we're traders here. At least this content is focused towards traders. So I you know, I'm going to come at it from the assumption that you don't really give a fuck if it goes up or down. I mean, you know, obviously it's a lot easier if it goes up. Yes, no shit. But hey, you know, didn't say it was going to be easy, right? Oh, by the way, I've actually been working on a shit ton of videos for my mindset channel, and I'm curious. I'm curious for the people who aren't in that sort of content, like what sort of topics would you be interested in? Maybe I should just give the channel URL, and then you could comment there. That's probably actually more appropriate. You know what? I think I'll do that. I'll have a link that is in the what's it called, in the comment section. Motherfucker, man, I can't speak. Anyways, let's go down to the 12-hour right here and see how this one's shaping up as well. 12-hour looks a lot more like an obvious lower high right here in continuation to the downside of the range at the 200 exponential moving average, which is where actually 89.50. That's been getting the low side wicks, and we do see 12-hour Stokes actually giving a little bit of a snake around here yesterday, and now accelerated to the downside. Even have a head and shoulders on the Stokes. No, you can't do that. It doesn't work like that. But let's go look at the reverse Stoke indicator cross, and what do you know? This is very interesting right here. So what we can now say is you know, going from the daily to the 12-hour, obviously half of that time frame is going to show us a little bit more of, you know, the insides of this workings. And you can see that the lower high right here that we do have on the daily Bitcoin chart at 94.50ish region is going to be preceded, or sorry, not preceded, but whatever the one that means after, is going to be followed by this guy right here, 9,300 on a 12-hour shown, and the 12-hour has, well, stopped and reversed, and now we get to play out the fun game of, is Bitcoin testing in the downside liquid zone once again, or are we getting ready for a big bad breakdown? And because the volatility is so low, and because the volume signature is so mature, you know, you kind of have to hold your breath every time that it does come down and scrape a long-term time frame range, because it can actually break. It would be much better if Bitcoin was doing the same thing at the top side of the range instead of the bottom side of the range. Consolidations on the bottom side of the range typically lead to breakdown. Consolidations at the top side of the range typically lead to breakouts. That's why I was so bullish over here. That's why I am hesitant to be bullish over here, essentially. And here's the thing. On 12-hour momentum, you can see that 12-hour momentum remains to the downside as long as we follow these lower highs right here, you know, going all the way down. So, of course, 94.50, then now more recently 9,300. This is not shown on the daily, but is shown on the 12-hour, and this is why it is it's a good idea to be looking at, you know, relative time frames to the next one. I mean, they're all going to have in some way a relationship, right? But you know, this is why it's just better to, or easier to choose even numbers, as they can kind of be cut up a little bit more obviously. Anyways, so yes, as long as below 9,300, I would feel confident saying that Bitcoin is going to come back down and test around 9,000, maybe 8,900ish region. I would not feel confident in saying, however, or at least I don't think it's appropriate to say, however, that Bitcoin is destined to break down just because of that. No, it's not. It's not until we actually fully and formally close a 12-hour dildo below about 12-hour dildo below 9,000 probably does it. Let's look at a 4-hour. What's going to be the lowest time frame that I could possibly use? I'd say 89.50 on a 4-hour probably does it for me. 8,900 very obviously, but 89.50 might be enough as well. Anyways, so yes, you know, on the 12-hour right here, we are also losing the exponential on this and looking like it wants to kind of dive back down into the bearish control zone. However, again, getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Want to make sure that this analysis comes across as, you know, more or less balanced. And I feel like right now I might be erring a little bit more to one side as far as the short and medium term timeframes go. So let me try to shore this up a little bit better. So here we go. All right, let's put back on these drawing tools right here. Here's what I can say. Bitcoin does look like it wants to test back down to about 9,000-ish region. Yes. However, does that imply that we're going to break down below there? No. And what's needed to constitute a high-term time frame breakout, which would drive a lot lower targets than even 8550? Well, I'd need to see it either daily or 12-hour closure below 9,000. I do believe that that would very likely do it. Or a 4-hour total closure below, especially 8,900. 8,950, does it do it? It probably does, but I think it might as well be a little, might as well err on the safe side and use 8,900 even, just close enough at that point. If that does happen, I would be looking for a very quick move. Okay, quick relative term, but I would look for a more short-term move down to about 8,550, 8,600-ish region, test this blue box, probably put in another short-term bounce there, and I'd look for that bounce to get sold into, and ultimately Bitcoin come down to about 8,100 to 8,150-ish region, which is, I believe, our level on the weekly. If we go back here, yeah, it's going to be, well, you can see that cyan 89 exponential moving average probably does meet up with that at some point in time. Do we have anything on the 2-day? No, not really. What about the 3-day? 200 exponential moving average kind of looming around that area as well. So again, that's not, that's why it's really important not to get ahead of yourself, because there's a lot that needs to happen before that becomes available. But it is worth staying. Oh man, I did delete this whole chart. All right, well, fair enough. All right, well, we can always do it again. What we can do here is, if we also take on a fib retracement. Okay, we'll do something like this. Yeah, there we go. We can see that the 236 is actually right around 8950-ish region. So I do actually like that area, although I have been saying 9,000. Maybe it's more appropriate to say 8950. And we do see that the 382 is right around that next sort of medium-term stop and reverse point at around 8150-ish region. I actually don't think that things would just pop back up and rally to the fucking moon if Bitcoin did head down around there. Personally speaking, I actually do think that this would be confirmed as a Wyckoff distribution top. And if this is a Wyckoff distribution top, then we can make a measure. It's not like super exact. It's certainly not super exact, but well, actually maybe it could be upper 7,000s, to 8,100 is kind of where I'd be looking towards, and then we'll kind of have to come back and reassess after that. If this area does fail, I'd look for another $600-700 down to about 7,500-ish region, in line with the 0.5, and also this nice historical horizontal area here coming in from this accumulation zone, and big breakout and big breakdown right here and big breakout right here. So good historical relevancy with that one, and then this area right here as well if that one were to fail. But now I'm getting way ahead of myself right now, and realistically, while I do think that Bitcoin does come down to test around 9,000-ish region, that does not imply that we're going to break it right here right now. So I have to be very careful with the way that I relate these ideas. Let's go over and check out CME futures. CME futures look a lot less in dire straits here actually. CME futures actually still riding this governing trend line, coming in from lows. In fact, already tested it, in fact, which is very interesting here. It doesn't look anywhere near the same chart as spot price for Bitcoin. So is it appropriate to be bearish on spot price action if CMEs is not really showing the same sorts of things? I would say it definitely takes away a lot of it, but the levels are essentially the same. 90-50 for CMEs would be the critical level. As long as it's above there, you can still make arguments for the upside, absolutely. But the second that we break below 90-50 and close 12-hour or daily below there, bad. And I'd be looking for the same relevant targets to be hit on spot price action. What we should also do while we're here is check out some of the other lower time frames. 12-hour looks very similar to the daily. In fact, the 12-hour does look similar to the daily. However, has it already broken this area? Nah, I don't think so. Too close to call it. 4-hour. What does it look like on a 4-hour? 4-hour does look a little bit droopy here as well. Kind of snaking around the death cross and golden cross, as you can see. You don't get that too often, but it does happen during these long form consolidations. And we don't really have any clear call here. But what is interesting is that we are going to see momentum oscillators turn down with any sort of a closure here or lower, I would imagine. But let's see what the reverse Stochastic indicator cross would say. Yeah, as long as Bitcoin's closing 4-hour deltas below 92.80 on CMEs, 4-hour momentum does remain to the downside. And 4-hour RSI is looking a lot more bearish as it does head back into the bearish control zone, well below the exponential, which is having a massive negative slope at the same time. And the 4-hour critical region for CMEs would be 90.70, which is interesting because it's actually higher than what the higher term time frame range would suggest. Very strange. Very strange. I would not expect to see that. Anyways, looking at the weekly for CMEs, I think the weekly looks a lot more obviously bearish here as well. It does look like it wants to test down to the 21 exponential moving average as we do see momentum oscillators turn down at the same time. Remember that this is the same sort of signal that we have seen on spot price action that has precipitated pretty massive moves to the downside before. Anytime that the weekly Stokes get above the critical zone and then come down, that's when the party's typically over. Going back to July 2019, this has actually been kind of infallible. We have this move right here, 41% over the next, 3-4 months. We have 20,000. Let's put it on log scale. It's not going to make all that much sense. We have $20,000 high right here, which immediately gave a 43.5% move down. And then over the next couple months, 70% down. We have, you already know where I'm going with this one, man. You already know where I'm going. 30% down right there. We get 37% down right there. We get 39% down right there. We got 30.5% down right there. And we got 30% down right there, all off the same damn signal. So does that mean that it's always going to work out for the eternity of eternity? No, but I do like the history of it. And if this does come alongside a break of one of those, one of the high term time frame ranges, I would be looking for something similar. It's hard not to, as that would not just be a break in structure, but it'd also be historically relevant. And we do see that, just playing around with numbers here, shaving off 25%, that puts us at the high 7,000s. That sounds familiar. Shaving off 30%, that puts us in the mid 7,000s. Also sounds familiar. Shaving off 40% on the higher end puts us down around the 200 simple and 200 exponential moving average. So it's really, I do think that it's going to be more or less related to traditional markets direction. So we should have very good clarity on that situation by the end of this week, and especially at the end of next week. The end of next week will be very telling as to where the long term is going for the traditional markets. If we do in fact have a macro top in, and it's going to be going down for a little bit of time. And that likely does carry on to Bitcoin if that does happen. But for right now, it's still, it's fucking Tuesday, man. It's fucking Tuesday. A lot can happen. What I also want to look at is Mr. Beaterall as well. This chart has been very interesting here, as the weekly actually still looks very good. The weekly still looks very good. But here's the thing. Let's go down to the chart that has the most history. Yeah, there we go. As long as the weekly is closing on lower highs, which would now be below 245.5, well, hard to love. However, does have a golden cross on the weekly. However, momentum oscillators are technically not confirmed to the downside just yet. And also does have the 200 simple governing to the upside. So, if anything, Beaterall does look like it's going to give a shot to the upside. Yes. The problem with this one is, it does actually intersect the 200 simple if you do draw a trend line there. That's very interesting. The problem with this one is that I can make a very strong bullish case for it, and I can make a very strong bearish case for it. But I would actually err on the side of, daily, here's what you're dealing with right here. Daily Stokes turning down, daily RSI losing the exponential. And more importantly, the 3-day closed last night, right? And the 3-day is still looking okay. It's still looking okay. And sorry, I also forgot to mention this the last week or so as well. As I did want to put, I guess it's not, it's relevant now, not necessarily before. The 3-day golden cross can certainly happen, and I would expect it to happen if we do get a massive move up to 290, 300-ish region, and that would look pretty damn good for the long term. So I do think that if anything's still looking healthy, it's actually Mr. Beaterall right here, but needs to follow through to the upside sooner rather than later, and this would lose its inherent bullishness, or at least the bullish case for the more immediate terms would be destroyed below 228 on a daily closure. So Butyrol still holding it up high, and if there is something that makes me say, "Hey, Krown," because I talk to myself like that because I'm fucking crazy, then I'd be looking at Mr. Butyrol and saying, "Hey, this one's still fine for right now. Can't hate that chart." Okay, what else do we want to look at? How long is this video? 34 minutes already. Jesus fucking Christ. Let's go look at Link. How's Link acting during all this bullshit? New all-time high. I don't really have anything to add on to this. I do think that it trades back down to like 69,000 satoshis, as I said yesterday, and I'd be looking for a bounce there and then play out a range between essentially where we are right now and 69,000 for a little bit of time, and we'll decide on direction later. But this one does look rather toppy as well. I mean, this is kind of a blow off right here now, isn't it? Again, a little bit early in the week to be calling something like that, but it's in the cards for sure. And same sort of thing that I said on traditional markets. Very likely we get clarity at the end of the week, and a lot more at the end of next week. That's really what I want to see. But it's potential now. Before it was not. It was very obvious that it was going to make new highs coming into this week, just like Nasdaq, just like Microsoft, just like Apple. But with the advent of yesterday's price action, well, that's your first major red flag there. Okay, cool. So what else do we want to check out? Let's go look at some Forex bullshit. We got pound yen. Did we hit the 200 exponential average target? Yes, we did. Now what? Looks overall bearish, kind of putting in a bear flag at the bottom of the range right here. Probably does come back down and trade towards 132.5 over the next few weeks. Swiss franc, US dollar, consolidated at a high level. Looks good. Looks good. But here's the thing, if U.S. stocks are going to come down, I'd actually be looking for the dollar to come up as people sell off their stocks. And if you sell off your stocks, what are you going to go into? Gold, Bitcoin, right? Right? Ivan, tell me it's going to be okay. This one still looks bullish, to be fair. Swiss franc versus dollar. Fair enough. And no hate towards Ivan. I actually really like Ivan, but I don't understand some of the marketing techniques. You don't need to do it, man. You don't need to do it. People love your information. You got great information. You don't need to cheapen the message with always being fucking moon boy. What do we see? What are we looking at on pound US dollar? Pound US dollar, very short term down to 125, 1.25, probably bounces there. Well, maybe not. I might extend that target to the downside to 123.5. Overall, the long term is very bearish. Obviously, it's creating a long term descending triangle on the lows, but is it ready to break down like right now? No, I don't think so. I think that this is going to take its time. We got some time to spend in here, and that can come with another test of the top side of the trend line, another test of the bottom side of the trend line. But it's a little bit premature to be calling it. Yen, US dollar, I'd be bullish on this one as well. Looking at it to pop back up towards 94.5 region, maybe even all the way back up here towards this liquid zone at 95. And Aussie dollar versus US dollar. Wow, that's Aussies. You got a shitcoin for your currency. I mean, it looks like it's consolidated at a high level right here. Maybe it does pull through. I would just have a very difficult time getting very bearish on the US dollar right now in general. But yeah, it does actually look like it has some upside here, to be fair. Long term is just absolutely abysmal, but big ranges do come with big opportunities. So fair enough. Maybe another drive higher towards the low 70s, but long term, very, very bearish. Dollar index, I'd be looking forward to maybe give another stab towards 95 in some odd sense. However long, no, I think it reaccumulates here on the 200 simple. Call me crazy. Call me fucking crazy. Now, if it does fail here, I would be looking for a massive move to the downside, 93.5, but I would also be looking for a massive low to be put in there. And in long term, I'm phenomenally bullish on this one, actually. Phenomenally bullish on this one. Again, when people start taking profits on their stocks, what do they go into? What do people hold as a reserve currency in the world right now? I'm not necessarily asking like you specifically, because, well, you as a person might have a different disposition than, say, like another government of a sovereign nation. But well, at least all the crypto boys will tell us that, guys, people are getting out of stocks and they're going into Bitcoin because Bitcoin is real money. That's weird. I can't seem to use it anywhere. And this is coming from someone who likes Bitcoin. I like Bitcoin. I just don't like the fucking hysteria and grandeur that seems to accompany this space. I like Bitcoin. I think it's a very cool idea. I think it definitely has its place in the world. But is it going to take over the world currency? Fuck no, man. Really think about the specifics of how that's going to happen. It's probably going to work with the current system, and that's ideally what you want anyways. You don't want the current system to collapse. I mean, it would take fucking 50, hundreds, maybe hundreds of years before we get society working again if that were to happen. Would be pretty fucked up, man. Would be pretty fucked up. All right, so now I'm just talking to myself, and what should I really be saying here? Let's see. I feel like let's go take a look at dominance. We did say a small short-term bounce yesterday, but long-term, yeah, well, we did kind of hit the bounce target at 64.5% on this chart. I need to see the weekly close on this one, but we got the bounce, we got the easy trade. Should I make another play on this one? No, I actually do think that it tests up a little bit more, probably back up towards 65% region. But that does not imply that it's like reversing for the long term. I don't think that that's what's happening there. I don't know. I do think that short and medium term is up though. So alt's probably going to take a little bit of a downer versus the Bitcoin parent. Let's go check out Cardano. Cardano looking good for a nice pull back down at the very least to 1290. Great calls. Do we have bearish divergence present here? No, actually, no, we do not. Let's see what the 4 hour looks like. I'd be looking for 1250ish region. Putting in consolidation at the top right now. Let's go look at Link versus Bitcoin. I think we already looked at this one, obviously. Let's go look at Buteral versus Bitcoin. This one's been looking very good too recently. Let's see how this one's shaping up. I'd still have to be bullish on this one. As long as it's above 0.0256, I'm actually still bullish on it, looking for 0.028. And technically speaking, there is a measure move on this triangle right here all the way up towards 0.0317 with good confluence between the 200 X Benjamin average on the weekly. What about Ripple Me Nipples on the weekly? Looks like absolute dog shit. But I was being told that this one's going to $500 and some odd. Well, go fuck yourself. Wait a second. It didn't work. It didn't work. Bastard. Motherfucking bastard. Always. It's an early morning. I apologize. All right. What else do we have to see? I think that's pretty much it. Let's go back to Bitcoin and let's wrap this bitch up. Okay, so I didn't even talk about the potential upside. Jesus Christ, man, I'm doing a massive disservice to my own analysis here. I feel very poorly about this, but what I would feel very confident in saying is that short term is obviously still angled to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below about 9,300ish region. Even on the shortest of time frame, just needs to tick back above yesterday's high at like 9330ish region, something like that. Yeah. However, if we want to be looking at timeframes that actually fucking matter, I'd pull up the daily, and it looks like we got a range between about 9,000 and where we are right now. Can't really even be short term or medium term bullish until Bitcoin gets back above 9450. If that did happen, I would look for extension relatively quickly up to 9700. That would very likely initiate that hidden bullish divergence that we do see present on the 3-day or potentially present on the 3-day, which is actually really getting reverted right here. If Bitcoin fails to get back above that level sooner rather than later, which would then initiate a move towards about 9,900, 10,000, the topside blue box. And, then I'd be talking about the upside just as much as the downside. But for right now, Bitcoin closer to the downside of the resolution of the range makes me a little bit less, I think just makes it a little less appropriate. Daily Stokes turning down at the same time does certainly provide my bias boner a downside bias. But again, can't get too bearish until Bitcoin closes below about 9,000 on a daily, 8,950 to 8,900 on a 4 hour, depending upon how aggressive you want to be. I didn't even look at this, but let's go over here to the 12-hour Trollinger bands. Do we see anything of note here? Losing the median band, although it does have a positive slope, so there is that. And then the daily Trollinger bands is very interesting here as well. We do see that today's going to have a potential to actually close below the median band as well. if that does happen, I'd extremely likely look for a move towards 9,000. And that median is at 9,200, about even. Let's go look at probabilities as well. Sorry, first off, Jesus Christ, I'm all over the place. We're 43 minutes in, and I'm just getting to this right now. I'll use 94.50 to the upside, kind of governing the short and medium term timeframes with potential back up to like 98.99. And for the downside, I think that that's very, very, very appropriate to be using about 89.50 on a daily. Just kind of cut that range to the middle. So let's look at probabilities right now and see what we got. Okay, where you at, probability panel? There you are, you motherfucker. Found ya. Hold on. Okay. Seems to be looking different to me. Okay. Oh, okay. We got multiple things going on. Okay, there we go. All right. 94.50, same as yesterday. To the downside, we'll use 89.50 on a daily closure. So what's the probabilities of that today? 28.7% to the upside versus a little under 25% to the downside. Both very high for both sides, and we do see that the rings themselves are pretty much flat with a slight negative slope, very ever so slight negative slope, but it is present. 12-hour is going to show 23.18% to the upside versus 16.5% to the downside, and the 12-hour is starting to get a negative slope on it. 12-hour Bali and Pigs moms are loosening their grip to the upside, and daily is actually accelerating to the downside. So I do think that the Bali and Pigs moms on the daily on the daily did turn down on the 9th and 10th of July. So are we still seeing that move in progress? It looks like so. Yes, it does look like so. So yeah. Alrighty. So technically, upside short-term resolution a little bit more probable if we are going off of maths just directly. But I interpret this as both of them are very likely. And when you cut it that close, there's multiple ways to play something like that, especially when you have access to options. But just because the upside is a little more likely, I would not say that rules out the downside as we've seen in the past. It's not how probabilities work. Anyways, just checking out the 4-hour jewel. Is there anything in there? Is there any jewel signal lining up right now? It's just chopping around red smack dab in the middle. I don't think that there's much interesting about that. I'm just trying to find a time frame if any one of them potentially works. No, not really seeing it. So yeah, kind of wrapping this bitch up. Kind of have to be bearish as long as we're especially below 9,300-ish region, at least for a short-term move to the downside of the range at 9,000 or maybe even 8,900-ish region. Do I think that Bitcoin is just going to slash through that right here, right now? I don't think so. No, I'd probably be looking for another bounce off there, short-term maybe. But any sort of a daily total closure below, let's call it 8,950 or 9,000, and yes, I would be looking for extensions down to 85.50, small bouncy bounce there, then extension to 81.50, and then we'll come back after that and see it in real time. And I'd really be keeping an intentful eye on Nasdaq futures today to kind of govern this next sort of range. I do have a feeling that it will pop back up around here and kind of play in this range, but I would remain bearish as long as we're below, or at least looking at this as a likely top as long as we're below, especially 10,750-ish region on a closing basis for the, I think, daily. Yeah, for the daily. Yeah. Okay, cool. Alrighty. I think that's just about it. I've already wasted about 47 minutes of your life. I apologize for that, but hopefully some of that made sense. I'll be back on tomorrow with some more price action analysis. I would like to take a second to wish you the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest. And until next time, take care.